Right. So Katrina and Glenda, you two I haven't seen before. Well, at least I don't remember you. That's probably more accurate. So Katrina, tell me where are you up to on this journey?
I just watched today the awakening curriculum on YouTube. I don't remember the name of the speaker, but she spoke about this community, so I was just curious.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Probably Penilla, was it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. She's great. She's really good. Yeah.
Yes, I really liked her talk.
Mm. Yeah. So you haven't as yet seen the deluded nature of considering a self as something real?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, your internet froze. Just wait, it'll come back. All right, while we wait for Katrina's internet to come good, tell us where you're to, Glenda.
Well, a few weeks ago, I found Pernilla's website and fell in love with it and joined her groups. And so
Hey, honey.
Thanks,
honey.
So I started off with the first fetter, and this past week, in group, I spoke with Pernilla, and she suggested I move to the second on working on boundaries and doubt. And this seems to be the place I really need some work. And actually, I have something right now I could need your help with. And I, on the toxic starting points, I'm a passive aggressive bully. So there's this feeling that I don't matter. Anyway, an example, and as far as seeing through self, conceptually and experientially, there's moments where I see through.
Okay.
But then this emotional stuff comes up and I'm really caught in the loop. So yesterday, I was invited to my brother's for dinner, and him and his wife. And yesterday morning it started snowing here, and by noon I was texting them saying, I'm not driving, I'm not coming. My body did not want to go out of the house. And I'm working on boundaries, and it was like, for the first time, it was like the body said no. The body said no. And so they texted back, well, we'll come pick you up and we'll send you home in an Uber. And I wrote back and I said, no, I've decided not to come. So they didn't even text me back. So I was so proud that I said no, because my body was just delighted that I didn't have to go out. And I was listening to all this YouTube. I was listening to yours YouTube things. Anyway, ever since I have had nothing but an ego attack that I'm feeling so much guilt. And my brother's going to be mad at me. They're not going to like me. They're all this. And this is what happens. This is what I get caught in. The aftermath of a decision. So all doubt right there. And I can't even get into my body. It's just like, I'm just paralyzed with the fear of not being liked. And yet I can see the patterns, right? I see this in everything.
That is a really big thing. If you can see what's going on, you already got 1 foot out of that particular hole. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay, yeah, well, as you're talking, lots of things come up for me to respond to, but I won't respond just yet. We'll come back to you because I'd like to hear Katrine finish. Was your internet okay now?
Yeah, sorry, the
No worries.
Wi-Fi wasn't
Good
strong
luck.
enough in
Yeah.
the bedroom. So as the speaker said before me, I also had like glimpses, like even longer, like minutes when I was really present, or I was present, as people would say. But somehow the narration in my head, or the ego, or I don't know, the voice, and it has just like a huge momentum, and I keep
Absolutely.
getting lost in it.
Yep. Yeah.
I did a lot of emotional work, and that's why I do suffer, but it's not like a very, very,
Yep.
very big suffering. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. I get it. Yeah.
and but I know that this is not the truth. I know that life gets like foggy because of this conceptual stuff. So I can see that, but I don't know how to let it go.
Yep. Okay. Great. All right. Good one. Yeah. Okay. Kari, where are you up to? You're muted.
Hi. Did you ask a question, Vince?
Yes. Yeah. Where are you up to on this journey?
Well, I'm not really sure. Like, I feel like I'm like a ways deep into resistance and craving. Like I guess the fourth and is that the fourth and fifth fetter?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like how do they describe that? Where you're have glimpses of further fetters, but you're not.
Cool.
What is that called?
Yep. So you would say that the first 2 or 3 have fallen. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. After a lot of discomfort,
Of course.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely dropped away, like the doubt and the feeling of a separate self. And just kind of over the last year, I've been dealing a lot with I guess the fourth and fifth fetter. And just recently I feel like I'm kind of getting through that. Like I expect things to still crop up, but when they do, I sort of see through it quickly. And
Yep. Right. Okay.
yeah.
Hi,
So
Kitty.
are you working with somebody with using the fetters?
I've
Not
just
this.
been reading.
Not just
Sorry.
Somebody else's background noise.
Oh, okay. I've just been I read most of Christiane's book.
Yep.
And I've been following her Facebook group, Finding Awakening, and mostly just been kind of working on it on my own. And that seems to be.
Yep. But using the techniques that she
Yeah.
suggested. Yeah. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good one. Thank you. Jeremy, where are you up to? You're muted.
Thank you. Just getting my toes dipped into the water. I was at a retreat with Angelo DeLulo a couple weeks ago, and
Okay.
met a woman who was talking about some other teachers, and she had mentioned Pernilla, And so I just started watching her videos. She mentioned you, and here I am. I feel like I conceptually understand like ego thought identification.
Hmm.
I don't know how much I feel it.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I feel like is there some truth to, like, at least relative to this path, is like it's hard to tell where you are on the path. You can only tell where you've been. Like, you don't know how far you are from potential beyond your current
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll say so. Part of uh, part of what we hope to help you discover is what's a concept, and the whole path analogy is a concept, and it's not a really very good one for this, although there's not much better, because this is not a path, this is not a progression, it's not something that you work your way through, or it's not a hill that you're going to walk up. It's like it's not. There's no really good analogy for what this is about. So yeah, that makes it a bit tricky. So yeah, so anybody who wants to say where they are, how much development has happened, or what progress has been made, that tells you a lot about where they're coming from, but it doesn't say anything about what they're talking about. So yeah. I mean, I must say, I tend to crack up. I mean, particularly the fetters concept is really useful in terms of giving you let's say giving you parameters within which to inquire to get to, and here again, wrong analogy, the next level. Right, it's not, there are no levels, and it's not a progression, but that's the only way we can talk about it. So if you go, you know, there's no doubt a consensus that you need to get through Feta 1, which is the delusion that self is real, that you need to get through that before you can work on some of the later fetters. And it's kind of right, but it's not right either. You know, it can be, you know, so I mean, I didn't come in through Feta 1. When I woke up, I have no idea what Feta it was. But Feta 1 had fallen. And then along came Feta 2 a few months later. So, you know, there's no different people. Angelo will see it. Christiana very much will see it in a sequential manner. But Penilla, no, she'll see that they're all happening all at the same time, kind of thing. So, you know, it's different people, horses for courses. Yeah. All right, enough waffling from me.
You mentioned someone that I'm not familiar with, Christiana.
Yeah, Christiana Michelberger. Somebody
Okay.
help me. I've forgotten that what she's written a book, and she's got a Facebook group that's really and really helpful stuff. Let me have a quick look here.
It's Finding Awakening.
There you go. Finding Awakening. I knew somebody who knew it, did know it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Definitely worth a read. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, come on. Yeah. Flavius, where are you up to?
Hey, I'm all over the place, Vince. Actually, yeah, uh, kind of, kind of seeing now Pernilla's approach to this. I used to have a fixation on every feather, so it seems like they must come one after another, but no, it's not like that. I have in the last 4 weeks, I have a lot of restlessness, and it manifests as a electric thing through my left side of the spine, a knot in my heart and throat, and um, actually staying with that a lot, a few hours a day, um, has weakened even more the fourth and fifth feather. And I'm just kind of going with that. Sometimes I get really confused. I don't know what to practice. Stay in the body, stay with the restlessness. No, sometimes I just drop it and let it be as it is. Um, it gets exhausting sometimes. It seems to be never ending when the restlessness gets pretty bad,
Mm, mm,
because it gets pretty bad. It's like internal torture.
mm. Yeah.
And uh, I I'm doing some experimental practices with attaining the heart space and that knot that forms around the heart, and try to be open from there. Open meaning just aware, not resisting anything, not resisting anything from inside and from outside. And actually, I was gonna ask something. Does anybody feel this knot and burning sensation, strong burning sensation in his heart? It's like being in love, but with no actual subject,
Mm.
like a very strong and burning yearning, I think is the word, for something.
Mm.
It's not a subject, it's just burning, just
Sure.
yearning,
Yeah.
just.
Yeah. Okay.
I found something on, I think Adyashanti has a lot of this, and he kind of says it's the beginning of the heart awakening or something.
Yeah. 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 My what comes up for me as you're talking is that um, you're working too hard. You're working way too hard at this.
Okay.
And any work that you apply to it is actually a diversion away from where you want to get to. That's
Okay,
another bad
interesting.
analogy where you want to get to. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, I got
yeah,
it.
yeah. So, and your use of labels, that's certainly something to look at. Every time you label something, right, there are a whole lot of stories around it, and you're relating to those stories rather than the actual thing that you labeled, which isn't a thing. But yeah, so I would say every time you use the word restless, a big question mark needs to jump up in in the front of your head, and you look at that question mark and go, oh, okay, let's look at what I'm pointing at with the label restlessness. What is it that I'm talking about? I'm not talking about anything that is actual restlessness, because it doesn't exist as anything. It's a concept, right, that includes sensations and stories. Okay, so if you use the fetter technique, or some of the, well, there are a lot of different fetter techniques, but anyway, well, forget about that. That's a complication we don't need. But if you were to look at what what the label restlessness sits on, you would discover that you've got sensations, and that heart thing that you experienced and the way you described it, that was great. That's pretty straightforward stuff, right? There's this feeling here, and you're telling me where it is, and you're telling me what it feels like, and that's good. That's actual experience. And then you come along and you label it restlessness, and therefore there's a whole lot of stories about that being not good for a start, that we need to change it. There's another story. And what it might be associated with, what the restlessness might be about. All of those are stories that come up, right? And they're all diversions away from what's actually going on. And so rather than overload you with too much stuff,
No, you can do it.
yeah, start with that very, very, it's a huge thing, even though it doesn't seem big. Labeling stuff is
Okay.
a way to not interact. It's a way to avoid, to divert from what is actually going on. Yeah.
I know why that's happening also.
Mm.
For the sake of the discussion, I'll still label it as restlessness.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it gets to a point that it feels unbearable, desperate. In the meaning that it's so uncomfortable
Yeah.
that I must. It feels like I must assert some sort of control, some sort
Yes.
of this,
Yeah.
some sort of this is here, this is like that, this is, and map it just to monitor it, because and monitoring it in itself, it means a little distance. I know this from direct experience, but this is why it's at some point I can't stay infinitely. I feel I can't bear it. I can stay infinitely in it. It's
Yep.
kind of too uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So the nature of it is that it's applying the maximum amount of force that it can muster to achieve something.
Yeah.
And what do you imagine that it might be wanting to achieve? What actually happens when this happens, when this occurs?
Burst like a bubble, something, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. It's attempting to stop you from going somewhere. It's attempting to stop you from feeling something. And it's doing a very good job of it, because it becomes unbearable. So you have to take notice of it. Right. So
Okay.
it's very, very efficient. It's stopping you from being aware of something that's going on inside you. That's its whole purpose in life.
Okay.
You could even say every thought you have is attempting to achieve the same thing. It will try seduction, whereas this feeling is applying force. But they're both looking to do the same thing, and that is to keep you away from what is going on. And at some
So I
point,
just
there will also be fear involved. You may not be aware of it, but that it will be there, because it's a survival thing that's going on. It's keeping you away from something that you believe will be catastrophic. You don't have to know what it is. Don't worry about that. It's kept you from knowing what it is. Because if you know what it is, you've got to face it. And all this is about not facing something.
No, I think you're right. It's something deep underneath. I don't know
Yes.
what it is. You're right.
Yes. Okay. Now you don't have to know what it is. The mind
Yeah,
will the
I
mind
agree.
will work very hard to convince you that it'll be good to know. You'll get some satisfaction if you do know. But that's also
Mhm.
that's a fraud, because your mind is also going to try and stop you from getting there. And how it will do it, it will seduce you into going down these other rabbit holes to look for the why and the how of things. And you'll never find a satisfactory answer to those, right? But it's also an attempt to keep you away from this thing, whatever it is. And it may be it's not even, you don't even try to define what it could be, but very likely it's something that happened when you were very young, some trauma that you experienced when you were very, very young, and you were unable to, because of your naivety as a youngster, you had no tools to cope with it. So you took it personally and you buried it in your body, and now you're suffering the results of that. You've been carrying it all these years. I, I didn't really mean to put on a psychologist hat, but there you go.
No, you can put it. It might be useful.
Well, the usefulness isn't anything that you can do about it, because you can't do anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
just sit and burn in it.
Just allow, yeah.
I had a hunch.
These words that I've just the these words will stir things. They're poking the bear.
Yeah,
We've got
I know.
a big stick and we're poking that bear, and and it's hibernating. We're just wanting to wake it up a little bit, but we don't want it to jump up and start chasing us. We just want it to stir at this stage, and
Yeah,
it'll happen. Yeah, yeah.
it has spikes, so maybe every 2 or 3 days it has some very pretty painful spikes. So I'll just not divert in any way then. I'll sit there
Well,
if it's
you
needed
can't
for 8 hours.
you can't not divert. See, the thing is, I,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
meant to
kind of
help you
right.
discover that you don't have control over things, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's a lot easier to tell
Yeah, I
you,
know, I know.
but yeah. Um, so if you catch yourself thinking that you're doing things, that you're taking action and you're achieving something, just slap yourself on the face and go read a book or something. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it gets when the restlessness it's so damn uncomfortable for hours. Um, a mind storm comes and tells me you have to do something. You have to sit. You have to meditate. You have to inquire into this.
Yeah,
It
of
get
course.
it on with now and forever. Do it. Do it. Do
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Inquire for an hour. Inquire for two. Let everything be as it is for another hour. Then inquire again and just go on this with this thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I know it's a doer, a desperate doer inside, still struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, with a little bit of exposure here, and we'll get to the point where you can be a lot more relaxed about what's going on. You don't have to take it seriously. In fact, taking it
Mhm.
seriously is like working with it, and working with it is counterproductive, right?
Okay.
Playing with it is a much better concept,
Okay. Thank you, Vince.
and even playing with it like say a 4-year-old might play with something where they're just moving through the world, discovering what's in front of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Anna.
I know what you mean.
Where are you up to on this journey, Anna?
Vince. I kind of came to the point where there is a lot of patterns programming has been seen through. You know, like what way blame is, like mechanisms, what mechanisms are, and you know, like where's they coming from. Like I could clearly see what blame is, how blame is working, you know, like that injustice, disrespect, all them things. And they all are leading down to helplessness and powerlessness, no control. Yeah. And you know, like that's when you feel you have like this no control, you're completely helpless, powerless. There is this resistance and this urge to do something comes up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good
yeah,
one.
I could see all this. And once, you know, like once I could see how all this is working, when something triggering happened, because you know, you see now how these mechanisms are working, you can't even use them anymore.
Mm.
And it feels like you've been, you know, like you've been stripped off naked, like your shield's been taken away because you can't use them anymore, because you see, like it's just like once you see it, that's it, it's not working anymore. You can't use it. And so once, you know, like you feel you're like there's nothing much to protect you anymore, it feels a lot of despair, like devastation, like sadness, and that helplessness, is powerlessness. That's just like coming up and just coming up and coming up, and just feel, you know, like just die.
Right. Okay. And that's where you're
Yeah,
at the moment?
yeah, that's what happened in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what happened.
Yep. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? So you describe that helplessness and lack of control and the despair and it's oh it feels
Heavy.
yeah, heavy,
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
just
you know
like,
what? Here's a really interesting one. I feel helpless and out of control, and I love it. That's where freedom is for me. I don't have to know about what's going on. It's not possible. So we've got the same thing, but with a totally opposite response to it.
I totally understand where you're coming from. And there's, you know, like logical mind says, you know, like, yeah, surrender, you know, like let go of control, no control, all this. But it feels like there is something
Yeah.
what
Okay.
I have no control to control, you know, like that is still trying to hold, trying to grasp, and you know, like
Yes.
no, just no.
So somewhere you have a story
This is a
that
lot of stories.
says if you let go and don't have control, that things are there could be problems, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly.
Now, is there anywhere, is there a story that says you never ever had control anyway, even though you felt like you did?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Right.
It's, you know, okay, a couple, I'll give you a couple analogies. Like, what came up as a story. One of them is, you know, like cat and mouse play. Before cat swallows a mouse, it plays with that until complete exhaustion. And it feel, you know, like lets that mouse to run away, and you know, all this and this. And mouse is really trying its best, you know, to survive, but it has no way out. It's going to die anyway. Or another analogy comes up as like someone puts you in a maze and say, you know, like find a way out. And you trying your best. You just, you know, like bumping your head against all corners and ever. But they didn't tell you from very beginning there is no way out of it. So it's just like, you know, you need to exhaust yourself completely exhaust, and then, you know, just that's it. Whatever.
Yeah, that
That's
happens.
what comes
That
up.
happens. Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of the Zen koans are about. They just want to take your mind to a place where it gives up and stops. Which brings us to this idea that what the self actually is is a bunch of stories that we've got about this organism, about the label that we've got for this organism, right? But it's having the stories is one thing. We respond to those stories as if they're real,
Yeah.
you know, and that response is what gives it credibility, even though it's whatever, you know. So when we change our story to the fact that there is no self to protect, to aggrandize, to whatever, you know, and you can kind of say, you know, self is the same as ego if we talk about it like this. Once that's out of the road, a lot of the stories have got no foundation anymore. They just drop away. Yeah. Okay. So how does this? Well, I'm wanting to say about 1,000 things at once, and it's a bit hard to kind of channel them right. So, all right, before I go on, so Glenda, where does this stuff fit in for you?
And everything makes sense, what you're saying. And, you know, after I voiced what I needed to voice, there's just resistance here to letting go, or it's
Okay.
like,
Yeah, stop. I got you, and I want to jump on. So what Flavia said about restlessness, I want to say the same thing to you about resistance. Okay, resistance is bullshit. It doesn't exist. It's a concept, right? But what you're pointing to when you use that word, that's what I want to hear about. What you're pointing to is a feeling and stories. Well, a feeling is a sensation plus a story. So you're pointing to feelings when you say resistance. So what is your actual bodily experience of that resistance?
there's anxiousness here. There's
So again, anxiousness is a concept, right? What's it pointing to? How do you know you're feeling anxious? And there's no such thing as
there's a
anxious.
vibration through the body.
Okay, now we're talking. So where's this vibration, and what frequency is it running at? Is it fast or is it slow? Is it a slow one or is it a high fast one?
It's
Is it
probably a faster one. It's
Yep.
in the upper extremities and the
Okay,
neck.
so good. Yes, I see where you're saying.
chest.
Yeah. So it's a kind of an area. It's not a specific. It's not like in a track. It's in a general area, is it?
Yeah, it's in a general area. And right now, as I'm talking, it's almost like my esophagus into my throat is closing up.
Yep. It's trying to protect you. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Okay, so
and
here's
there's emotion coming up
Yep.
now, like, yeah.
Again, emotion is another concept, right? It's another silly one. What is it you're calling emotion? What is that feeling? So you're saying now before we were talking about that and what we were pointing at with the word anxiety. Now you've got something else that you're pointing at with the word emotion. It's a
Oh,
sensation and stories, yeah?
it feels like a wave of nausea
Yes.
and, oh, I'm not allowed to talk.
Yes. Yep. Because you're going to say something that's going to have big consequences, eh? You don't have to know what it is.
You're right.
So stay with the feeling. Stay with this choking off feeling, this stopping you from expressing something. Where's that feeling? In your throat now? Because it's going to shift around, isn't it? It's not going to
It
be
shifts
static.
around. It's sort of in the chest here and into the throat, coming up the back of the neck, into the jaw now. It's like, I don't, shame.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, shame, yeah. So answer this, what I'm going to ask you, the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, so you've got this constriction that's stopping you from saying what? First thing that comes to mind. Doesn't matter how it's logical, just say it. First thing that comes to mind.
Or like help.
Help. Yep.
Help.
Okay. So say it and see what it feels like. Say it out loud and then watch the sensations in the body.
Help.
Oh, that was a weak one. Give us a bigger one.
Help. It doesn't want to come out. I'm afraid to ask for help.
Yes, okay. So keep saying it and see if you can just make it a little bit louder and more forceful each time you say it. Just a tiny, tiny bit extra each time.
Oh
So,
my gosh, now it's getting worse in the body, the vibration.
yep. It's going to do
Help.
its damnedest to stop this from happening.
You know, all I can figure right now is my father's hand coming and just whacking me.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
That's right there. It's just like you're not allowed to respond.
Don't do it. That's right. Don't do it. So it's not even the slap. It's not even the hit that is the big thing here, is it? It's the repression. You are not allowed to express.
No, I can't say what I need.
Right. Help.
Help. There's nobody to help.
Right.
And that's what was yesterday, you know, all this thing, like I felt like there's nobody to help me. I said what I needed to say. I don't want to go to dinner. And then there was like, I'm bad, an attack of I am bad.
Yep.
And there's nowhere to say, there's no relief. There's no relief.
Mm. What is your response to that? Is that, do you feel sad or angry or what is your response? There is no relief to and feel it.
I'm inadequate, trapped. I don't matter.
Mm.
I just do not matter. Yeah. But as I say those words, I feel a shutdown, like I'm missing something. Like they're not fully expressing something.
Yep. They're actually a bit of a diversion away from something.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
first thing that comes to mind, what that something might be?
I just want to cry like a baby and
Yeah.
be held
Yep.
and to be nurtured
And to matter.
and to matter. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not even feeling teary now. That's there, but it's in the background, eh? You're not going to
Yeah.
not going to let that out so easily, are you?
No.
No. Oh, I heard that. No, we can't do that. Why? Will that get another slap?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say you're not allowed to do that.
Right.
And plus, even if I do that, it still doesn't matter. It goes deeper.
Yep. Yeah.
That doesn't even matter. Then I'm just, so what? I cried and like a baby, and that doesn't even matter, so it just, there's layers of that real deep. Yeah.
So can you imagine being so young that you don't have language, you may be lying in a cot somewhere and you're so young, and somehow you've already got the message that you don't matter?
Yeah.
It could be because you don't get attended very quickly when your nappy needs changing, or you don't get fed when you're hungry, or whatever. But for somehow, even before you've got language to express it, you know that you don't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's primal.
It could have even been in the womb
Yeah.
that you shouldn't have been there.
Mhm.
Wow, that's intense conditioning, isn't it? All your life. Yeah.
But there's something, as you're speaking though, there's also a flood of like feeling, I don't know what to say, but even like relief or joy that it's even being acknowledged.
Yeah. It's huge.
So
It's a big thing, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Finally.
yeah,
See, all these years where you don't matter, isn't it so interesting that you've not needed anybody around you to tell you that you don't matter, because you've been doing it for yourself for so well, for so long, that even a slight bit of acknowledgement like this is enough to kind of crack open some armor.
yeah. And no, real joy is coming up like right now as you say that, that I didn't need anybody to tell me I don't matter.
Mm,
I think I don't matter. There's something in the acknowledgement in that right here, right now, that it's like, wow, it's me.
yeah, huge.
It's
It's
like
huge.
this desire to connect with me, the person that doesn't matter for me,
Yeah. Mm.
not to be better, but yeah, just this. I haven't had this feeling before. It feels kind. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Again, we're just poking the bear,
Right.
and things will happen as a result. Yeah. I just witnessed a change, a shift, and that will continue for you. And then it'll seem like regression, but it isn't actual regression. It's just that the more you uncover, the more stuff can come up. So what seems like a regression is actually new stuff. It's further forward, further, more. Yeah.
Thank you.
And a discovery that I made actually not so long ago, via somebody who had a similar experience to you, and that is that this time collapsed, because what we had was some experience at a really young age, and then 50, 60 years later, we respond to it like it was the first time it ever happened. Right? And you go, it's just as alive today as it ever was. Time has not changed it at all. But the thing is, and this is what was with Flavius happening a bit earlier, that because we don't examine it, we don't go near it and see it and look at it, it maintains its original response. That original response gets hardwired into the body, and we never look at it with an adult perspective. But what we're carrying with it is an infant's perspective, which is to not have any understanding of what's going on, to not see the bigger picture at all. You know, the infant is entirely inside itself in terms of its experience. It's what it experiences is the world. And so here we have this collapse of time from many, many years ago. And it's just as alive and present today as it was when it first happened. Brilliant stuff. Amazing. You can see time is an illusion. You know, the distance between then and now doesn't exist. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I feel like I'm talking too much. How are you going, Amanda? You still high?
Hello.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever was very high to begin with. Stuff was moving really slow for me, but this week was really interesting. And you'll probably find it really funny because after last week's meeting and the whole thing with the trust stuff, right? So when that fell apart, I can't take any of my thoughts seriously anymore. And I got stuck in a loop the other night, like this chain of beliefs having to do with something that happened with my 11-year-old son. And, you know, I started to feel guilty about it, but then I just was looking at like the chain of beliefs. And I just kept, it's like, well, that's bullshit. There's, you know, it was like going back to like the self stuff, but also just what my mind was telling me. The story of what was going on was just false, and I could see it. And so I kept just letting that go and letting that go. And I realized that everything that I thought was bullshit and that there was nothing for me to hold on to. And it was the most uncomfortable and terrifying experience of my life. And I just sat in it until eventually I fell asleep. Apparently, that was how that ended. And I woke up the next morning and things were pretty much back to normal. But I think that was really important. Like it was really important. It was really good. And it's interesting. I think maybe, I wonder if that's like that falling that Ilona talks about, like that sensation where there was nothing for me to grasp onto in that
Yep.
moment. It just, so that was really cool and horrible, but really cool.
Yeah, it'll change though. Yeah. So again,
Mhm.
falling is just a concept, and
Yeah.
it implies sensations of a certain kind and stories of a certain kind. And so it's a good one, you know. It's kind of a letting go, and my image of it is falling backwards, falling down. I'm facing up, but I'm falling down backwards. And I'm not worried about hitting the ground because there's no end to this falling. There's nothing to splat against at the bottom, you know. It just keeps on going and going. And so it's, yeah, but it's,
There was just,
yeah.
there was not a single thought that I could hang on to, nothing. And
Yeah.
that was really scary. Like that was really scary. It was just, all of this is just stories and none of it is true, and just let it go. And then the next thing would come back. And it was like, you know, because I was just trying to you know, the mind was just trying to blame me and like, look at all the reasons for why it was my fault and what I should do. And it was like, I just kept, it was like, that's not true. You know, that's not true. That's not true. And I just realized there was nothing there. And it was terrifying. It was really scary.
Yep.
For no reason.
Well, you can speculate, and sometimes that can be valuable to speculate, and here it will be, and that is that the speculation that I come up with is that that's about control.
Mhm.
Huh?
Yeah.
And
That was where,
yeah,
well, the trust thing that we were talking about last week, you know, and thinking about that, I realized that I was using that as an excuse to like maintain the idea that I could still control something. And that if something went contrary to how I believed it should have gone, well, I couldn't trust it. So, you know, and it just was like excuses and things that I really saw that really clearly.
yep.
And I mean, I'd taken notes because I thought it was kind of interesting. And in the end, I think this particular situation with my son, in the end, it was like I realized that ultimately all the excuses for not letting like the situation go and the beliefs around it go, that I was responsible and I was to blame, was more that if I kept holding on to that blame, I was also keeping him trapped, like in my mind, in this problem, instead of just letting the problem not be a problem anymore. I still felt like if I let it go and said there's not actually a problem here, you know, not only was I keeping myself stuck in blaming myself, but I was also keeping him stuck in, you know, something sucky that didn't need to be a problem either.
Mm.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know that it means anything, but it was like the next morning when he got up, I swear he looked a little different and he was happy.
Right.
And that was unusual. So I don't know.
Yep.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, we tend to not appreciate how much our tone of being radiates out into other people around us. And other things. Animals respond. Wow, animals, oh, they respond big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things you said that stimulated the idea for me, the thought again, that if we could wave a magic wand over a seeker who turns up and says, help me wake up, that magic wand, I mean, I've got a few things, a few spells I'd like to use, but one of them would be, don't believe your thoughts.
Yeah.
They're
It's
bullshit.
that.
They're bullshit. Their sole purpose in life is to seduce you away from what's actually going on.
Yeah,
Having said
it's
that,
100% true.
there are a couple of useful thoughts that'll occur from time to
Yeah.
time. But so we need to. They're not our enemy. And let's not extend it to that. Right. Our thoughts.
They don't have power. And I thought
right.
I thought I understood it. And you know, that was one of the things with like the losing the belief in the self and everything. So many books and stories that I read, like these people are talking about how their thoughts just went away for weeks or months and years. And I didn't have that experience. I seriously had 2 seconds. That was it, of quiet. And was enough for me. But I also realized that my habit is to constantly be talking to myself in my head. Most of it's, yeah, it's all thinking about stupid stuff in the past or projecting stupid stuff into the future.
Yeah.
And it's useless.
I did a Google search on that one day, and it said something like, we can have 70,000 thoughts in a day, and 80% of those will be a repetition of thoughts we had yesterday. Absolutely,
They feel
80%
fresh.
of them will be repetition, and the other 20%
Yeah.
will probably be bullshit too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really true. And I thought I knew that until I had that moment where I knew, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought I understood it. And yeah, you really, like, everybody just needs to have that moment where they really, really know it. And it's different at that point.
Mm.
I think it's that going from the intellectual understanding to the knowing that we all talk about. We all feel like we're not there yet. And it's really easy to, I think, miss that moment.
Yep. Well, it's thoughts that they're the
It's
culprit
always
to that
thoughts.
thinking. Yeah, yeah.
100%.
They
It's
say
always,
because you got triggered, that means you're not there. Go back to square one and start again. Yeah. Well, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
yep. I know my thoughts are full of crap. Sometimes I buy into them for a while, but I come out of it and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not
Yep.
true. That's not true.
And
My thought can't think. My thought can't feel.
yep.
It's not true.
And with when I'm guiding people, another one of those magic wand spells that I'd love to give is that moment when you go, wait a minute, that moment when you recognize that you were lost in thought, that moment is such an important moment. That action that happens when you realize that you were lost in thought is like a trampoline. If you celebrate that moment, it's like a trampoline where you can spring off into a whole different world.
Mhm.
And what it actually is we're just switching the side of a brain that we want to use. So we want to get new pathways going in the brain. We want to let the old ones die from lack of use. And recognizing that moment, that appreciating the significance of that moment when you recognize that you were lost is a key to doing this in a hurry, getting things happening a lot faster. Yeah.
Yes. And I learned, because I was doing a meditation technique by Bhante Vimalaramsi, and he stressed how, when you got caught off in thought, you're supposed to laugh, you're supposed to smile, and you're supposed to relax and then return to your I find that so useful, like outside of meditation, for finding that I am lost in thought or identifying with thought or whatever, because I'll feel the tension and it just is a trigger for me. And then I automatically laugh at it and relax and let it go. And I think that's been really helpful for me too.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
How's things been for you, Liz?
How things been for me? I feel the part of me that gets really lost in the thoughts and beliefs. I'm loving everything people say. So noticing, I'll notice a lot of times too, it's right when I wake up where, I'm waking up, but there's just a bunch of thoughts that are happening. And one of the things I'll do is get up and just start moving, shift out of, so almost like it feels that I'm stuck. So it's interesting to feel almost like physically or energetically of like stepping through something. I appreciated what you just said about I love the trampoline, like, boing, like I'm somewhere else. But sometimes getting out of bed can be a trampoline that way.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Go ahead.
I was going to say because everything you say triggers me, doesn't it? I came to a realization at some stage, and it's just a story of mine, that when Buddhists talk about reincarnation, they're missing a point. What reincarnation really is what happens every single morning when you wake up. You reincarnate back into the Liz that you've got all those stories about. And that even as you're coming, you're not even fully conscious as you're coming out of sleep. Those stories start happening, and they are what you define you, kind of thing. And I imagine that what your experience was like trying to that those stories were like a sea of syrup or something thick, and that you're trying to burst through that into something fresh and whatever. But yeah, so that those stories that happen as we're waking up, if we can catch them, that's really, really valuable stuff. Yeah, you suddenly see how you create this story of self that we then get up and operate from all day, every day. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just want to let off. Yeah.
No, I like it. I like your contribution, and one of the pieces I'm seeing with a lot of those stories, it's interesting to see the subtlety of evaluation, like good, bad, right, wrong. It's just that the subtlety of how that's coming in, instead of like, oh, it is just how it is. But I can see the part that runs that like there's something wrong, or it should be different. This is better. This is worse. Good, good Liz, bad Liz. It's really interesting to see how that all sneaks back in.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, I get the sensation of exhaustion. Oh, isn't that so exhausting? All of that evaluation that's constantly going on. So another meme, one of the magic wand things that I came up with at some point was that every opinion that you have about something, and we can kind of all be fairly gentle with ourselves about having opinions, but every opinion you have is a judgment. And that takes the gentleness out of having opinions. So if you're going to have an opinion, recognize that you're doing it, and don't have an opinion about the fact that you had an opinion. So don't judge it. Just recognize it. But yeah, that is a huge one. That is another really, really big one, because we all have opinions all day long, every day. We just go through life with opinions about this and that. We approve, we disapprove, we evaluate all the time. And it's all story, and it's exhausting.
Yeah. So with that, and how does that fit in? So like Fetter 4 or 5, I can be like opinions. I want, I don't want. I can still see a subtle belief inside me, where I get caught into, yeah, but I do, like I do want or not want something, when an opinion is just floating through, when a better or worse thought is just floating through. I don't know if that evokes anything for you or anyone else.
Yeah, well, what it does evoke for me is just to remind everybody that whatever turns up is good value, whatever it is. And the further along this so-called path you get, the more welcoming you're going to be for shit to happen, because it gives you something to work with. But in the beginning, we do this evaluation thing on what turns up. This is a good situation, this is not a good situation, whatever. But whatever turns up, whatever it is what you need. It's your school teacher. It's what you need to move the next step forward, whatever turns up. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how good or bad it is. It can be really, really good, or it can be really, really bad, or everywhere in between. Whatever turns up is there for you. It's something that's relevant, absolutely so relevant to you, not relevant to anybody else, but it's relevant to you.
I hear that, and I simultaneously feel like excited and relieved, and I feel the subtle armoring in my body that is like a no.
Yep.
It's just interesting. It's just interesting to have both there.
Yeah. and that's a remnant of self there, that armor, that protecting, that defending stuff. Yeah. Andri, is that how we say your name?
Me?
Yes, Andri.
Yes, Andre, yeah.
Yeah. Where are you up to on this path?
I have been hearing a lot about, not a lot, but a few times that wanting certain types of experience, more of certain types of experience, and rejecting certain types of experiences as bad ones or suffering is sort of an issue. And I have been noticing that my recent sort of bus stop that I just passed or passing or just stopped really and observed the surroundings is so much like, oh, I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like what I'm having. I want something else. I want more of something else. And part of me is like is trying to find a way to accept it. Even though it's like it doesn't feel easy or blissful or benevolent or whatever those words are. I I am I feel like a sullen child that is not happy with the toys that it received for the Christmas. And with a child though, it's more straightforward because these are toys, that's Christmas, and toys are usually, I don't know, toys are usually bright and they're supposed to bring joy and entertainment. But the stuff that I wake up to every morning, it's hard for me to find the bright side, and I don't think I am really trying to look for a bright side. I just like, oh God, and then and I just sort of sweep it under the rug and try to and think that, oh, this might change. This will probably change when I wake up. This will, I will wake up. There will be a shift. There will be something in the future, in the past, in the present, doesn't matter in this life, but I don't know. And then, things will be different. And I will, and I know from psychological point of view, this phenomenon. But I find it very hard to say yes to every experience that I have, and absence of experience as such. I keep on saying to life that, okay, yeah, like I pretend I accept it, but part of me is like, okay, just put it there on that shelf and put it there on that shelf, because I think I'll move out at some point and I'll leave it all behind. I will not have to deal with it. It'll just, okay, put it on this shelf.
You're lost in that fantasy about the future, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. Part of me is like, maybe you are running away from something, but part of me is like, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're not supposed to deal with this. Like,
Okay.
and I know it's just like, I'm just trying to see where I'm fooling myself. Where I am.
Yeah. Okay, I can see. Stop talking. Stop talking. You talk too much. Sorry. I can see what you're doing with your talking. You that's why you're not getting anywhere, because you talk too much. And your talking is just your thoughts, isn't it? So you're just verbalizing your thoughts and you're lost in that stuff. Look, I've been talking too much as well, so I'm gonna give you to Alan. Alan is gonna ground you, really, really solidly ground you. So get ready for this.
Oh, I'm looking forward to.
You're muted, Al.
You were here last week, weren't you?
Yes, I was the crying guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, how, as a result of that, is there anything you'd like to just fill us in with?
It I was very grateful, and I thought what happened was both embarrassing and beautiful.
Mhm.
You know, because I'm a man and men are not supposed to cry, you know, and that sort of stuff, a conditioning. And but I
So,
don't know.
that's part of the story, isn't it? And just in terms of how you felt after that,
I felt empty after that.
empty.
Yeah, empty.
Mhm.
No agenda. Maybe a little sad because now that you asked me, the stuff Vin said I talk too much, and I'm like, is there a way for me to convey this without saying it?
Don't worry about that. Don't stop talking because of that.
I think it's what we talk about as the issue more, isn't it? That keeping out of stories and just now relating direct experience. That's what we love to hear.
Well, that's the thing, because when I was describing what I was describing to Vince, I felt like I felt this in my body. There was like something happening in my body, and I
Right.
thought to myself, if those were just thoughts or words, I wouldn't be, you know, my body would feel detached and not responding to any of that. But I somehow
So tell us what's happening in the body. You tell us what's happening there.
I think I'm enjoying it. You know, it's like the body has a sense of joy. Okay, it's not sense of joy. It's just sense of energy moving, like legs and chest, and it's almost like the body is happy, but there's a general sense of there's a sensation of there's like sadness and like, oh, what we did last time just scratched the surface, and I like this well is like as an abyss. There's no way all of these can be, you know, looked at, seen
And
through.
there's the story again, isn't it?
Well, of course, I am a story. I mean,
Yeah,
my name is Andre. I'm a story.
Exactly. But here we are. You know, that's the mind takes us away from that, and what it's calling for is just to sit with that and see what's just fully experience that milieu of feelings. Even there mightn't be one that comes out. You talked about sadness. But something will make itself apparent, and just to truly allow that to unfold. Is there anything there at the moment?
A story, but also
What's the sensation that's most prominent?
it's I feel like my heart is skipping a beat now, and it's oh, I don't like this feeling. I have an attitude.
Okay,
I think it's
and that's important to notice that I don't like. Sometimes, not sometimes, so often, it's the I don't like is holding a lot of this stuff together and creating a little bit of, well, I'm not sure how we could describe it, but feel into that I don't like. What do you get there? Is there something in particular you don't like? If you voice that, I don't
being seen as weak, as
okay. Feel into that I don't like. I don't like. Is there a pushing away, a kind of a turning away?
I'm losing it. It's just part of me wants to talk about that sort of sadness and open up to that sadness and to that, you know, hard.
So just come back, because you were talking about I don't like being weak, and now we've gone to sadness, and that could be valid, but let's just come back to this I don't like. This is a wonderful example of how we can distract ourselves, seemingly legitimate, but there's this I don't like being weak.
Yeah, and the more you sort of ask me to stay with it, the more irritated or angry I become with it, and I can actually feel clenching my teeth.
Beautiful. So just stay with it gently. Just stay with it gently. Just let it be. You don't have to do anything with it. Just see what's going on. Feel what's going on. What's happening?
It's hard for me to look at you, and also it feels like there's nothing.
It feels like.
No, I just caught myself saying words, and it feels like it doesn't have anything. That's it. It's just that thought, and I'm looking, like I'm waiting for this to.
So come back to I don't want this feeling weak.
It's just I'm just angry. I'm just, you know, I'm just.
Well, okay, feel into that. Just feel into that. Feel into that. Just be gentle with yourself.
Just it's hard to breathe, and also I feel like running away. Like I said it all. Like if there's anything.
Yeah, just be very compassionate with yourself. Just be very gentle. This is just being with what is in the moment. Truly what is. Perhaps there's a feeling of I'd rather be anywhere else than here.
Yeah, I think I sensed fear now.
Okay, just a little peek of that. Yeah, there we are. Something just revealing itself. How would you describe the fear? My ears are starting to hurt, and I'm like, I think it feels like a buzz, but I don't actually hear the sound. And I feel like I think I am scared because whatever comes up is going to scare people away. It's going to scare you away. Do you see the thought again? Just allow yourself to fall back into the sensation, what you're actually feeling. You're talking about fear. Is that still being felt?
No, it's more of a disgust now.
More of a disgust. Okay. This is a beautiful example of how just layer upon layer, so to speak, just starts to show itself as we see what's there. Remember, Vince was talking about all these things are hiding something else. And we're just allowing things to be peeled back. We're not peeling them back. We're just allowing it to happen. So just feel it, just very gently. Is there still a feeling of I don't want this as well?
Yeah, and yeah, I
Like,
want to run away.
right, okay, so feel into that, feel into that.
I want to tell stories.
Okay, feel into the I don't want to feel this weakness. Right back to that point. Just say that again.
I don't want to feel weak. I don't want to feel weakness. I don't want to.
And
I don't
just
want to
as
be
you're
seen weak.
and just as you're saying those words, feel right into where that's coming from, the core of that feeling. That's all we have to do. Just feel into it. And as we truly feel it authentically and see it for what it is, the work happens in and of itself. We don't have to do a thing. This is the amazing thing. So say it once more and feel into it.
I want to feel weak.
I don't want to feel weak.
Okay, I want to feel. It's very hard for me to sink into it. It's
And don't even force yourself to sink into it. Just let it be there. Just let it be. It's kind of, rather than sinking in it, it's just relaxing and let that do what it wants. Even relaxing into it can be too much doing. Is there a sense of when you might have first felt this? And I'm going back to next week. This is part of the story, but you were talking about being a 2-month-old. And if that's confusing, it just come back to, I don't want to feel weak.
I think when you said it, I felt like there was a response in my chest, like almost like trembling or shaking, kind of.
Okay. So just check in. Is that still there? What happened then?
It's just very uncomfortable to not say anything and just and I also feel like I'm embarrassed that I'm not. I feel embarrassed that I'm not giving you entertaining descriptions of my feelings
and you know, this is one of the things that we come to love, is just sitting in the silence without talking, just being there, because this is where if we can call it, the real, well, it's the happenings in that silence. So we love it when you're just feeling right into it. And yes, there's a sense of just checking in with what's going on, but just, we're all happy just to sit here in our own silence and feel what's going on in ourselves. So this is a gift, Andre, to everybody. It really is. But just feel into that trembling that you talked about in your chest that came.
the trembling is on on like on the face now, the lips
Right.
and
Mhm.
cheeks and the,
Yeah.
the nostrils and
Hmm. It's just flowering, if you will. There's an unfolding, like petals on the flower. Is that it?
mm,
Hmm. A little bit of a letting go there.
yeah. There's just there's this there's a sense of helplessness, but also a sense of really sort of vast space and or
Mhm. So this helplessness. I don't want to be weak. Is it that? That's another way of describing the helplessness. Is it the same thing or is it different? The feeling.
um yeah. I um it's hard for me to stay focused on this, and there are cars passing
Right.
by and they're very loud and they
Uh-huh.
distract me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That,
it's the helplessness is more like no the weakness that I don't want to feel weak is like it almost seems like a decision made, but it was made later, not at this point.
all right. It was made for
I don't
you.
know.
Mm-hmm. And you're talking about the thoughts giving you real trouble there. There's a sense here, though, that you're able to feel more than you were when we started. The thoughts are not pulling you away just as quick.
Mm.
And that's the place where we want to go. Just, the thoughts, they just create all sorts of mayhem. There's no question, but just leave them. As so many have said already this morning, just if we can just see them for what they are and feel into this, the sensation, the raw sensation again and again and again. That's what really we're pointing to here, separating the story from the sensation. So rather than push it now, if that makes sense, if that helps just clarify this a little more, this, if there's any work to be done, this is what it is. But it's a matter of just sitting and being really open and honest, and just as best we can. As Vince said, if we can even play with it, that's where we start to get rid of some of the things that bind us, but at least not push it away. Start to play with it.
I feel like in this setting or in this environment, in this group environment, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to rush it into
Right.
something which I can convey, because if there's nothing to convey and I just sit there silently and just feel whatever I'm feeling, maybe I'm not able to describe it, then I start to feel that I'm not bringing value to this group.
Interesting, isn't it? So even if we could feel into that, but what I'm going to suggest is if you're happy to do this, just take this offline and just continue to do what we were doing, and we'd love to hear just what happened there, rather than spending an hour in silence, which we'd love to do. But if you're happy just to take this, and does it have some call for you to do this? Do you see
It has some it has some appeal, but
But right,
It almost like I want to put it in the box, and then I want to put the box on the shelf, and then I'll look at it later.
That's right. Oh dear. Perhaps we should give you my phone number and we'll talk and make sure the box state comes down.
No, you're right. No, I should. I'll. No, it's definitely. I think it helps, and we've already sort of opened up some of the boxes that I think I sort of pushed back, and yeah,
Right.
I'll
And that,
I'll take a look at that.
and there was nothing in there that really killed you, was it?
No. Well, the worst that can happen is you guys will just kick me out of this group, and that's it. That's the worst.
Only if you get too boring.
That's right.
Yeah. Or too silent.
Exactly. Hang on, Vince. He's worried about being silent. That's boring.
This guy is so silent. Let's kick him. Yeah. That would be me.
No.
He's not entertaining.
Vince has lost his kicker.
Oh, yeah. He's a new one.
No, he hasn't got his kicker anymore, have you, Vince?
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, well, Andre was worried about being kicked out of the group.
Oh, kicker. Yeah, me kicker. I was hearing ticker. Okay, yeah. Okay. Andre, I get the impression that one of the big takeaways from what just happened for you is that you now recognize that you're an escape artist and you should be a writer. Have you written any books? You'd be good at it. Because you're all about communication. And for you, all that communication, which you're good at, and it has a place. But for you, that's an escape. That's a diversion. And I think, did you get that message?
I got it from you, and I agree. But yes, I still think that I still find it's not as bad as it used to be. But
yeah.
But I still find that there is also some kind of like bodily sensations right next to these words, and that's where I'm confused. If it were just like purely here, then sure, that's thoughts. But because I can feel whatever I'm saying in my body, then I'm like confused. Is it blah blah blah, or is it actually feeling something?
Same thing. Yeah. Like so what let's put it this way. A feeling, which you can say an emotion, right, is a sensation plus stories. Okay, so one of the skills that you would look to develop is the ability to hone in on the sensation and allow the stories to go their own way. Okay, so I don't know about this not having any thoughts at all business, but what I do know is about thoughts demanding engagement. And if you are honing in on the sensation, you're basically dismissing the thoughts. They'll right. And once you can how can I put it, grasp the sensation. Once you can appreciate the pure sensation without stories, right, that sensation is going to be changing and moving, and it might even want to fade away just because you're seeing it for the first time really clearly. But at that point, and it's a feta technique, if you move, what that sensation is going to want you to, no, that's not right either. There is going to be an inclination to get away from that sensation. And how that will work, it'll be, firstly, thoughts will come in to seduce you away, to promise you satisfaction if you chase them down a particular rabbit hole, probably about the why. It'll always seem legitimate, but it'll be thoughts will be going on about why this is happening or how this is happening. But the only legitimate question is what is happening, just what. And the moment you start to describe it, you're getting away from it. So at a pure level, a sensation can't be described. When you start to describe it, you've already lost it. You're already getting away from it. and you have to describe it in order to communicate it, right? So and I get from you that communication is a really important thing for you. And
There's something.
it has a place. Sure, sorry.
No. Just adding to what you're saying, Vince, it really strikes me too, Andre. You were talking about worried about us being bored and you not, keeping us entertained. Is that really something you don't want yourself? You're really pushing away that sense of that. Well, it's a fear of being bored, perhaps. This is the stories continue. Are you, by focusing on the sensation, just check in whether you don't want to be bored? And that's what's keeping you away. Boredom is a really, really potent but subtle sign that there's something we don't want to look at. Does that resonate in any way?
I think it's a little bigger than I can grasp right now, but I sort of feel that like a snake, I need time to digest it. I've
Right.
swallowed, I've
Yeah,
swallowed
got
an elephant, so I have to, yeah,
Mhm.
I have to digest it. But
I have a thought coming up. And hi,
Yes,
everybody.
Elaine.
Hi. It's just somehow my energy goes to, first of all, that sometimes it's a good door if you can see what naturally engages us most, kind of captures our energy and attention. Sometimes it's interesting if we can make that into a door somehow. And right now, as I'm listening, my energy is going to processes around how others are perceiving us and how we relate with others and how we want to be seen and how we don't want to be seen, and kind of stuff around that, which is connected to, am I interesting? And am I interesting? Well, if not, then what? But just that whole area, which, yeah, I think is pretty deep. It's pretty deep mechanisms for, I guess, more or less all of us, one way or another. It's really just kind of primal group dynamic stuff. It matters in all kinds of ways. So anyhow, but just yeah, that there is I get a feeling that that there's a liveliness there. Yeah. So so sometimes what we can do is we try to just, we have this, our attention is going to something about how we relate, and we try to go away from that and go to the sensation, say, or to something that's, I wonder if this is a bit abstract, but tell me. So sometimes we try to go to my relation with me, or we try to go to sensation, where what is actually kind of just very naturally alive in us is something about, how am I being perceived? How am I being understood or not understood? How am I interesting or not? How would I like to be seen? How would I not like to be seen? And it can be really powerful to get curious about that, and yeah, and to get curious about that also as an alive process that in a way also is a door to awakening, when we relate with it as the alive natural process that it is, right? Whatever wish we have to attend to how others sees us is a natural process happening by itself. Whatever feelings we have about that is a natural process happening by itself. And I have a sense we often feel uncomfortable about that. Like there can easily be shame about that matters to us the ways it does, and whatever kind of feelings we can have about that, and that can be all kinds of different feelings. So if we can manage to somehow to get more, just get really just curious about that process inside ourselves for a start. Yeah, I have it, that feels that comes alive for me right now. As yeah.
So Andre, as you say, just take all that, and there's a fair bit there to process. And what Elad was talking about, curiosity, just curiosity about that sensation. Play with it. Just the closer you get to the sensation, the better. Sorry.
No, I just loved what Elad said, and in
Beautiful.
a way, it kind of opened up a new sort of perspective or paradigm, because what you and Vince been saying, and I'm kind of, there's a little bit of, it's like curiosity, but at the same time, there's a little bit of not so compassionate beating up of myself, you know, for not being there where, like, you know, where you're pointing.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that, because that's like, it's a sort of destination or interim destination. But what Elad is saying, or the way I heard him, is like, oh wait, like, you, maybe that's what was Vince was saying, that you can play with it, like you can, you know, open it fully, you know, what, to see what's
Beautiful.
in it, and just, you know, maybe don't be so categorical about it, just be open. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's the beauty of this group. Someone can just feel into something that, in a way that really relates to the present moment. So that was a beautiful example of that.
And there's also one thing I wanted to add, is there's sense of loneliness. And when I was talking about, you know, shame and how I want to be seen, and how I perceive I'm being seen, and I almost felt that it occurred to me that this was like, I'm the only one who experienced it on all, you know, on the whole, on this planet. And when Elad said that, he sort of legitimized it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And and this is just, it's not just me, it's human. It's like, it's okay. And then I relax around it a little bit too. So thank you for this.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
How are you traveling, David?
Me?
Oh,
I'm sort of lost in somewhere else. I've been sick, and when I get sick, I feel out of touch with myself.
oh, that's dragging
Like
on.
I'm,
It's a couple of weeks now, eh?
yeah, it really is, yeah. Like I'm watching from the outside. And the feeling is that there's a certain relief to it, but it also, I miss being, I don't know, vital.
Mm. And do you think that's just the sickness that's done that?
Well, one answer is I can't know, and the other answer is it's a good question.
I know. Yeah. I don't know what flavor of psychology that you practice in your practice, but yeah, I've had a little bit to do with a whole lot of different ones, and one of the things that I would see is kind of like the curiosity that Elad was talking about, is to say to yourself that I made myself sick. So instead of saying I'm a poor victim that caught something off somebody and I'm helpless, you say, well, I did that on purpose and there was a reason for it. And as a result of that, if you can just allow curiosity to play around that one, you never know what might come up.
Yeah, my reaction to that, my instant reaction is anger.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's some juice there then.
Right. Yeah. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you make me responsible for myself?
That's great, isn't it?
Uh, I was just thinking, I just felt like just saying to you, Vince, that you're fun.
Meaning quite the opposite, I'm sure.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And anything that makes me that makes me jump outside of myself.
Yeah, good value. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't I feel like I'm I don't know, so entwined in myself that it's a relief
Yep.
to have somebody else sort of crack the joke for me.
Mm. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? How we kind of almost sink down into a level of seriousness that's just not healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, and of course there was all of the years ago reading that, I don't remember his name, but the way he got over serious illness was with humor.
Yep. Oh yeah, the bloke who laughed.
And
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, and laugh humor is a way of standing outside of ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's humor's
Not
always
only somebody else's, our own.
Say again.
And not only somebody else's humor, our
Our
own
own. Yeah,
humor.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our own is even more interesting because what the essence of a joke is the unexpected. So you take somebody down a particular road, and then all of a sudden you switch to something else, and that's where the joke is. And that's why you see babies will laugh when they get surprised. And so joking is about surprising.
Yeah.
Humor is not quite about surprising, but it is about discovery. It's about it is about discovery. There is that, whoa, yeah.
Yes,
Something.
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I also think of humor as having a certain kind of whimsy, which is a way of well, I guess it's a way of standing back. Whimsy, I don't mean in a philosophical way. I mean in just a way of being able to say yes to everything.
Mm.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, there's an openness. There's an openness with good humor.
Yes.
A lack of defense.
Yes.
A lack of armor.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. A lack of defense. Yes. Yes. A letting go.
Mm. How have you been, Jane?
Oh, hello, Vince. How have I been? Good. Just good. I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, you don't have to apologize, and you don't have to force anything. That was good.
Yeah. If I was, yeah, I've got nothing to say really, but if I'm going to tell you a story of what's, my week, I'm teetering on whether or not everything I say is only 99% bullshit or actually completely 100%. Yeah. So that's right. I had an interesting experience. I was, looking into where thoughts were coming from, and something you said to me, I was trying to look at them rather than look for something about them. So I was just looking at the thoughts, and I couldn't find where they're coming from. Yeah. So, okay, they're coming from somewhere. My theory, my story is they're coming from my unconscious, but I don't know. If I believed in God, God could be injecting them into my head, but they're coming from somewhere. So I thought to myself, what can I do with this? So I said to wherever this anonymous thing was, give me a good thought. And it did, which was great. And so I played with this, and I could get to the point where I could say to it, give me a thought I've never had before. And it did. It was amazing. I mean, I didn't know what the thought was going to be, but so I played with that for a while, and that's where I am. And the week's been fine. I think the one thing you like, Vince, is, I was saying before, I read everything. I've got to know everything. I've got to make sure, I'm not going to be stupid. I haven't read a book this week. Yeah, I took a week off, so that's where I am. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea where this is going. And that's where it is.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is a really good place to be. Yeah, excellent. That is a place where discovery happens. Yeah. That's good. Good stuff. Yeah. And I want to reiterate that whatever turns up is okay. The moment you go, that means forget it. Don't go down that road. Yeah.
Yep.
The moment you go, well, that shouldn't have happened. Don't go down that road. The moment you go, oh, that should have happened. That was great. Don't go down that road. Same thing. Yeah.
The other thing that came out of our messages to each other this week was, I think you mentioned, when we quote from the previous message, and I think we got about 6 or 7 layers deep in a quote.
Yeah,
and then you said, hold on a second, I've lost context. And I'd lost context as well. And that just made me realize that all these words, all these labels, everything just gets in the way.
Absolutely.
So yes, we have to use them to communicate with each other. But I think somebody said earlier in the evening, oh, where am I on this path? Am I progressing? Where am I going? What am I doing? What do I need to learn? And I do all that. And that's 99.9% of the bullshit, I've realized. Hopefully the 0.1% will get me through, but maybe that's bullshit as well.
Yeah. and of course you'll get to the point where, like we start off saying, well, your thoughts are all bullshit. And then we go, oh, well, but wait a minute, you will have some useful ones. And then later on, it gets more subtle. All of a sudden your thoughts take on a whole lot of different values. So, your thoughts are not the bad guy. It's just the misuse of them that is the bad guy. And if that happens, that's okay too. Yeah.
It's like another thing you put in a message where I was asking you questions, and I think it was something to do with the difference between delusion and illusion.
Mm.
And then you said, oh, that's above your pay grade. And my first reaction was, how dare you? I'll read a book about it. I'll watch a video. I'll listen to another podcast. That's not above my pay grade. I'll be able to get it. And then I realized how ridiculous that was. And I said, yes, when it untangles, it'll untangle.
It'll untangle, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, to put for everybody, James was talking about everything being an illusion. The whole world and everybody in it is an illusion. Well, I said that's true, but it's above your pay grade at this stage. So that was all that was about. Yeah.
James, I'm a bit curious about when you were asking for the good thought, and the good thought came, and then the thought I've never had before. Did that give you any sense of that thought might be in control? You were able to command it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Beautiful.
It was more just a case of it was playful, and it was in that moment, and I had no control of what it was doing. Maybe I was lucky. I mean, I'm sure I could have said to whatever this is, I could have said, give me a good thought, and it could have put the finger up and give me a bad thought. I wasn't, but as luck would have it, it did give me a good thought, and it did give me a thought I'd never had before, which that second part, I really enjoyed that, but hopefully if I say, give me a thought that I've never had before, and it gives me something traumatizing, maybe that wouldn't be so great. So no control at all, Alan.
Beautiful. Yeah.
James, it would be great.
What, to have a thought that traumatized me?
Yeah. It might not feel it, but it would be good to have. Yeah. Look, the time is going to come, believe me, and this is really weird, but the time will come when you'll be really welcome shit happening. You'll go, where's the next bit of shit? Come on, give it to me. I need something to work with. It will happen, believe me. Yeah.
Okay, I look forward to that day, Vince.
And it is interesting where the thought, give me a good thought, came from, huh?
Yeah, I have no idea. As I say, that would be just more of a story, me believing that there's an unconscious or a subconscious that's developed over, human history. So, yeah, whatever it is under there, there's something going on, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So this brings up for me something that's really worth reinforcing, and that is that there is so much that we simply cannot know. Right? We've got this organism, this thing we call a body. It's got 5 senses, physical senses plus thought, and that's really limited in what stuff we can take in. I mean, we can't even see what a dog sees or a bee sees. We can't. We're limited to this particular human form in terms of our sensory input. And consequently, we just don't have the apparatus to understand where thoughts come from, or how the world exists. How do we create this thing that we call the world? We've got no way of understanding that. There is so much. So I have this story, I've mentioned it before, but bear with me, that I'm like Santa Claus. I got this giant sack over my shoulder, and that sack is what I call the mystery bag. And out of that mystery bag comes everything. My thoughts come out of that. Whatever life presents with me comes out of that mystery bag, and it just passes through and goes straight back into the bag. And I have no idea what's in there or what's going to come out or anything else about it. No idea at all. And that's great. I love it. I don't have to be concerned about that. I'm busy enough as it is without worrying about how the world works. Anyway, hopefully that's a helpful concept.
Yeah, there is absolutely. I don't know nothing.
Okay. And that was interesting. I asked Joan how she was, and James thought I said, how are you, James?
Oh, apologies, Joe.
You see, then I thought, oh, you stupid person, you thought he said Joan.
I did say Joan, yeah. But I haven't got my hearing aids on, so yeah. You heard me. James just mistook it as James, yeah. But then the whole world centers around you, doesn't it, James?
Of course.
Good answer.
Well, I have been enjoying hearing everyone's little contribution and how similar they are to one another, and how I could see myself in what they're bringing up. I'm doing pretty well. Like Vince knows, I don't know if anyone else knows, I'm a caretaker to my husband, who is not only an amputee of a leg, and but also is pretty much into dementia, and it's real tricky. And there's no real interest except being right next to me all the time. And I don't always react like I should react, if there is a should, or the way that he wants me to react. Sometimes I just feel buried, just unable to get out. That's real hard for me. The dementia kind of appears as anger with him a lot of the time when he perceives that I'm not giving him what I should be giving him. For instance, he was a pretty avid drinker, and not water. That kind of got out of control when he first started having some of his health problems, and so he took that to the extreme, and he used it because he wanted to escape his body. I think he wanted to escape his body and his pain, and the main thing he wanted to escape is that he didn't feel useful anymore. He had a very powerful job, and he was no longer there. And well, who is Pat then? And so he became very withdrawn. And he had always been a big introvert and had a lot of easy interactions with people, lots of friends. He was well respected. And so it has been difficult for him. So when he was up until the last few weeks, he wasn't feeling well enough to, just one second. Pat, I'm still on the call. I'll get back to you in a few minutes, okay? Okay. He could occupy himself a little bit better the last, except for the last week or so. And I'm taking this, but I feel when this happens, I almost get a feeling, oh, here we go again. He's coming upstairs, and so we sit and he talks, and it's all repeating what he's talked about in the past and everything. And so it's the way that I am responding to him that is difficult and not too helpful.
So has that way you respond to him, has that changed in the last couple of weeks, or is it the same as
Yeah, I had more space before. We have a 3-story townhouse, and since 2015, when he was in and out of the hospital, he just couldn't get upstairs. So he sleeps downstairs on our lower level. His desk is down there. Anything he needs is down there. His coffee maker, the refrigerator is down there and everything. So he was more able to occupy himself. And as his dementia gets more and more, he's not able to do that anymore. He's just down there and he gets bored.
So this is a roundabout way of you telling us how you've been feeling the last couple of weeks, how it's changed for you.
I feel guilty.
Don't tell us about him.
and
Tell us about you. Yep.
yeah, I feel guilty for feeling this way about him. And he tells me all the time, "Oh, Joan, I am so happy we are here together. I mean, we have had such a wonderful life, and it's just so great to be here. And I feel so comfortable with you and all this stuff. And that's good. But
So are you taking that as not sincere, or are you taking it?
Well, he's very sincere, and I know that he thinks the more he tells me this, the more I will feel that I want to be around him. And I don't know.
So do you see that as an attempt on his part to manipulate you?
I think a little bit.
But
you know,
it doesn't. It stresses you out when he keeps on saying that, eh?
it does.
Yeah.
And he keeps on saying this is the happiest time that he has ever been in his whole life.
Yeah. And you don't doubt
You
that
know?
you're feeling that when he's saying it, but you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, how long these things last for is probably fairly short with the dementia.
Well, he could go on forever. His father had it in his 70s and he didn't die till he was 90.
Okay, yeah, no, I wasn't actually referring to that, but yeah, you're right. That can, who knows with that one.
Right.
I have something coming up, if I can, may. So when he tells you these things, that this is the happiest he's ever been, and you're feeling what you're feeling, which you said is some guilt, so what's going on in your body when you think of just being true?
Well, I feel stifled is the feeling that comes up. That
Okay, and the stifle is where?
right in my upper chest and into my throat, and it's just I want to pull back.
Mm-hmm. And what would happen if that stifle wasn't there? Like, who's stifling, and what would happen if that stepped out of the way?
And I suppose part of it is I have a lot of he's done a lot of things in the past that I didn't know about, and I'm just learning about some of them. And so I have a lot of anger.
Right. Yeah. So going back to the anger, because the learning about things he's done is a justification for anger that's arising. Like now I get permission. So if you go back in there and watching the stifling happening and where that's coming from, who's actually doing the stifling, what's doing the stifling, and then go back into that stifling and the anger and the truth. And what's stopping that truth from coming out, the stifling, like, you know what I mean? Go in there and feel all the stifling of the truth.
Right.
And the perceived consequences of it.
Well, I don't know how I could. We've discussed everything that I didn't know before, and
No, stop there, because what you're doing is you're going back to him again. So what would happen if there was nothing wrong? You could say anything, and not to him. Like, don't go back to him, to yourself. Just be honest with yourself right now in front of us. Not to him. It's not about him. It's not a conversation with him. It's not trying to get him to understand. It's not trying to pacify whatever feelings might happen. Just right here, right now, with you and you. What's the truth? Without a story or a justification of why you get to.
well, the truth is I am here and I am taking care of them, and I'm not doing a very good job of it because I'm too resentful.
Okay, so the truth is not all that. The truth is that you're here taking care of him and feeling resentment, and it's okay. So let's be with that resentment. It's okay. That resentment is okay. So let's just be with that resentment. And give yourself permission to feel it.
Well, I feel better now. I don't feel so much tightness, so much restriction.
Right. And what if you gave yourself permission to feel everything with the stifling? See the stifling, like who's stifling? You, but you. Now, if you look at why? So you can appear good, so you don't upset him, so you don't offend him, so you can do a better job of taking care of him, all that stuff around that, shutting down how you really feel.
Yes, but when it comes right down to it, this is how my life is going to be for
You don't know
the rest
that.
of the life.
You don't know what your life is going to be in the next breath. That's a justification to continue stifling yourself. God forbid you be true to your feelings and your emotions and feel them, because then you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen anyway, not in the next breath. So just feel what you're feeling. See, you think that if you feel it, you have to do something with it, and you don't. You don't know what's going to happen in the next breath. So you feel whatever's coming up for you. And there's nothing to do about it. That doesn't mean you've got to like take care of him or don't take care of him or just shut up and pull up your bootstraps and stiff upper lip because you're going to do it anyway for the rest of your life. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Meantime, who's stifling? Who's this? Your health, your life. So just feel what you're feeling. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow anyway. So what are you feeling now?
Being here, I feel understood. And I understand exactly what you're saying. And if I would talking to somebody else about it, I would say the same thing to that person that you're saying to me.
Yeah, and
It's something.
How does it feel in your body when you say, well, I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life anyway? When you have that thought, because you don't know that that's true. When you have that thought, how does it feel in your body?
There's a feeling of guilt, and there's a feeling of frustration, and there's a feeling of anger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
Do you recognize, Joan, that each one of those feelings is a response to a story?
Right.
Can you see
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Yeah.
But life is a story. It is a story of that doesn't seem to change. It is what it is right now.
Well, the story can't change because you won't be with how it's making you feel. The story won't change because you're stifling yourself from going with the flow of it. Everything is a story, but this happens to be the story that your mind is creating. And you believe it's true, and then you stifle yourself because you think it'll never change. So it can't change because you won't go with it. You won't feel the consequences of believing that story. And then you try to shut yourself down so you can grit through it. Shutting yourself down is part of a story too. Everything's a story. This happens to be the one your mind is choosing. And you can't get out of it because it's your story. It's not taking care of your husband you can't get out of. It's your story you can't get out of because you won't feel it. But now you're feeling it. And your mind goes to logic. Oh, everything's a story. Yeah, this is the one your mind is choosing. This is your expansion. This is your story. And it's here to free you.
Really difficult to accept the fact that it's not what's going on around us that we're responding to, but rather our interpretation of what's going on around us. And that interpretation are the stories that we respond to. So we think we're in the world and we respond to what's going on in the world, but we're not. We're responding to what we think about it all the time. Everything we respond to isn't what's out there. It's always what we think about what's out there.
And the freedom lies in feeling what those thoughts are doing in your body. And when logic tries to kick in, then watch that. Well, I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life. Then watch how that just makes you feel. Each thought you have, what's the impact in your body? Maybe this whole experience with your husband is so that you can wake up to these thoughts and feelings in your body. And that's your work.
It's a crazy one, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of sounds like a platitude to say that you are really lucky. Being in such a shitty situation is really, really good luck for you. It just doesn't sound right, does it? It sounds crazy, but you know what I mean. Hey, there are opportunities there that somebody without that wouldn't have. Yeah.
You could say your higher consciousness created this experience in this story so that you can move through and free yourself. But it's about you. So when your logic starts to say, yeah, but he, oh, wow. How is that making me feel to believe that? And then watch when you go to shut yourself down, because now the heaviness of suppression and no one, oof, yeah.
So can you conjure up the Walt Disney introduction music to one of the Walt Disney shows, you know, the feel good, happily ever after kind of shows? So just imagine that play that music in your mind and see the intro to a movie that you're in with Pat and you're looking after him. But boy, something is so different because what you're doing is you're skipping around the house, you're singing, you're laughing at the fly you saw on the window. The things are so different to you. And yet Pat's doing the same stuff, but now he's different because you're different. And yeah, it's just a joyous, beautiful situation that you're in, doing exactly the same stuff as you're doing now.
When you control and stifle yourself, see, this is the freedom when you stop controlling and stifling yourself and let yourself feel your truth. That can shift your future. Because if you try to just jump from where you are to where Vince is talking about, you might just bypass. The resentment is coming from the have to for the rest of my life.
Well, I don't think that, you know, maybe I minimize it because of our relationship. I mean, we've been together for 55 years. It's one of those things that have, we were each other the whole time. It was.
Right, but what if you just let that story go? It doesn't matter what your past is, because that's just a story to keep yourself suppressed and controlled. What if you got to do whatever you wanted to do and no one was going to punish you? And then feel the guilt that rises up and all the stuff that comes with that thought, because you can't choose yes if you can't choose no. You can't freely, fully choose yes if you can't be with your no. So pretend you never met him. Don't talk about your past, because that's just going to wrap you right back into what you should be doing. And just be honest with yourself. And in 2 minutes, it changes, and all of a sudden you want to again. And then 5 minutes next, okay, I don't want to anymore. And then it's, oh yeah, man, I love doing this. And then no again, and then yes again. But going with that flow of the truth.
I see that what Vince said is correct, though, because the only thing that has changed with Pat and me is that my feelings for Pat have changed.
You fully be with that with grace, with acceptance. It's okay. And see what's on the other side, because you don't know what's on the other side. Maybe more love. A different kind of love.
Now, feelings about something always fluctuate. They're never static. We talk about them like they're static, But if you're feeling sick yourself, you know, you're tired and you have a different feeling about things. If you're feeling really good in yourself, you're strong, you'll have a different feeling about things. There's always movement. There's never a static thing. So, but what you're talking about is you've got to be careful that you don't see it as a trend, that it's because it's shifted to somewhere that it's going to keep going in that direction. It may or may not, who knows, you know. But yeah, feelings are always changing, but the really excuse me, the value point here is, how do you feel about that? How are you responding to what you perceive as a change in feelings? Not even what the feelings are is not important. Well, not as important as how are you responding to that? What do you think it means, that change in feeling?
When you be with yourself like that, you're filling your tank back up. You can't give on an empty tank.
Right.
And somebody's got to be there for you.
That's why it was easier when he was downstairs and I was on the other level, and we would get together in between times. It's just that I just feel kind of stifled when he's up, when we're together for an hour or two at a time. It gets to be a lot for me.
Yeah. So there's different stages of it too. And you'll know when you're true to yourself, you'll get information on what to do. If you're not true to yourself, you won't be getting information. You'll just be grunting along, draining yourself and not feeling adequate in taking care of him. But if you're true to yourself, you're going to get different information on what to do, because the relationship's going to continue morphing and shifting and changing.
Yeah. So I would say an alert point for you, Joan, would be when you find yourself thinking or talking, it doesn't matter, about Pat or about your past, about the way things used to be, take that as an alert point that says, I'm escaping. Now, don't take it as you shouldn't be doing it, because if it happens, it happens. You know, we don't have control over that. It's the recognition of it happening that is the value. So if you can see when you're doing this, what I call escaping thing, where you're talking about the life you used to have with Pat, or even talking about the way Pat is now, that's all a way of getting away from what you're feeling. It seems innocent, it seems legitimate because you're talking about things as you see them. But the point is for you to avoid feeling a whole lot worse.
And on the other side of feeling worse is new insight and a shift in your relationship and your life. There's something on the other side that's unknown.
How have you been, Casimir?
You say? Oh.
That's my way of saying we leave Joan alone for a while. We've had enough. Let's let her have a rest.
Okay, and I haven't got to call because he just called me again. And
Yeah, you go. That's no problem. You can come back. No worry. Whatever. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all.
Oops.
Exciting and frustrated, I guess. I have what I think is a very straightforward and practical question, but you can let me know if you see through that not being the case. So maybe a couple weeks ago, after, as you know, a very, very long journey going back and forth, I feel like I finally had a couple days where I kind of got it, or at least the first insight, not, I don't know all the stages or ways to describe it, but it was non-conceptual, right? It was actually finally like, okay, I see how this is all called in concepts. This is direct immediate experience. And I actually spent probably half an hour just laughing to the point of crying at seeing how it's literally not thoughts, and thoughts just kept trying to come. And it's just, now that I had this, which is something else to compare it to, it was like a shit, like they couldn't stay, they lost all their power. I think someone said earlier, like, all the thoughts are BS, and it's not even that they're false, they're nothing. So that was very exciting. But of course, what's happened now is it feels like I've lost it, or at least it's not as strong as it was for those couple days. Logically, I know that's not the case, because when it was clear that it is always here. It cannot go anywhere. And what it feels like has happened is because I had that amazing, really exciting experience where it was very, very clear, my mind has now turned that into a memory. And so now it keeps trying to compare, wait, this doesn't feel like that, or this doesn't look like that. And I know it's doing that, but that still is making it hard for my attention to find this again, right? Like it's this weird, frustrating thing of I know the tricks that are being played, but that doesn't help me see through them. And I was wondering if you just have any any advice on kind of how to stabilize or get back to, or if you think I'm fooling myself, or any of that. And I also know, like, okay, it's not me doing, well, the mind wants something to chew on.
Yep. Wrong question, though. Really the wrong question. Okay, the idea of stabilizing, the idea of getting back to all of that stuff. Yeah, okay. You cannot go backwards, right? You can't undo what's been done. You can only replace it with stuff. So this is a big one, because it really, what you're looking at now is doubt. Doubt comes along. We about doubt like it's a real thing, but it's not. It's a pattern of thoughts.
Right.
And you can imagine that there's a story that says it's your thoughts trying to get you back to the way you used to be. It's chasing familiarity. It doesn't like change. That's the nature of something that doesn't like change. So it wants us to get back to the way we were. Okay. The only thing you need to change, and not that you can change it, but these words might offer an opportunity for it to be changed, is that stuff that you've been perceiving as meaning that you've lost something, that excites the story of, I want to get back to that beautiful place that I had there for a while, right? They're all stories to take you away from that unpleasant feeling that came from the story that you lost something, that's undone, that you're a failure now, that it hasn't worked, right? There's something more to be achieved, all of that stuff, right? It's all just thought, but it's very seductive thought that you're responding to. You get sucked into it really easily. Yeah, it's the nature of doubt. It is so credible that it's hard to ignore. Yeah. But all this stuff that comes up is just part of the process. Not that it's a process, but you know what I mean? It's just new stuff. The more you uncover, the more can come up. So as you do this process, that's not a process, you basically remove the stuff that's been holding things down, and stuff comes up and you go, oh, look at that stuff that's come up, and you look at it and you go, great, that's gone. That's good.
Yeah.
And the trap is to say, I'm there. Because the moment you do, guess what? The next thing's going to come up.
Okay.
Going to keep you humble. Yeah. So certainly celebrate what it means, that epiphany that you had, that moment of fantastic clarity, that moment where you'll forget a lot about that really quickly. A good idea to sit down and write about it, just so that you've got something to look back on later on, because you will forget really quickly, and then that moment will become something else in your mind than what it actually was, you know. But it's like there's no possible way you can describe that moment. You can't communicate it to anybody else in even close to the reality that it was, you know, that seeing that you saw that it was always there. There's a brilliant one, you know. Try and explain that to somebody who hasn't seen it, and you've got no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, but it makes it sound like it's some big, mysterious, crazy thing. It was incredibly literal and ordinary. It's yeah, okay. So, for example, like right now, if I'm trying to tune into it, or my attention is trying to find it, and I can know that the thoughts saying this isn't it or I haven't got it are just thoughts. In fact, I know literally everything except this is a thought. So I'm on guard, but still it's sort of slippery, and it's just sort of attention keeps getting pulled back and pulled. Is there just like a mental maneuver, or is it really just wait and it'll solve itself?
Well, we can't not have mental maneuvers, but yeah, we don't know which one's going to work, if any of them are going to work, and how long we got, whatever, you know. It's just you just watch what comes up. But you know, it's a little bit like, you know, you're a raw novice at, say, some karate school, and you jump in the ring with a master. Yeah, and you've got no chance to do anything. You know, you can attack him all you like, and he just flips you around and whatever, and he doesn't even bother to attack you because you'd succumb immediately. You know, well, this is a bit like the familiarity of getting into this is like in that situation. You can't fight it. There's absolutely nothing to fight it, right? So what you do is you get in the ring with the master and you bow to him and you smile, and you turn around and get back out of the ring. You don't need to have a fight. You know, he doesn't really want to fight you. He knows that he can beat you. So when all these mental maneuvers start happening, you just smile and bow to them and turn around and walk away.
Okay. My mind doesn't like that because it likes to be able to control things. But
Of course, it wants to get in there, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
But I can accept that. That's
yeah, and it changes over time, of course, because it's conditioning. You know, it's what we're used to. It's a habit. We habitually think in a certain way. A certain tone of our thinking is habit as well. It's the actual, you know, so it shapes the thoughts that come. And yeah, by what you're now about to experience, or what you've already started to experience, is the changing of a lot of habits with regards to the way you think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's when it comes online, so to speak, it'll just short circuit whatever I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
immediately. That's right. Yeah, it takes the
It's
legs
like, oh,
out
this
from
is
under it.
point. This doesn't. Yeah, yeah, it's just surprising. I thought. I mean, obviously, no one can have accurate expectations, and we all have expectations. And I recognize there's so much that I don't have insight into yet or realized yet. But I always thought like, oh, well, once someone gets this insight, then they know it. So they'll should always be able to come back to it. But that insight that I was imagining would have been some sort of conceptual insight, which, yeah, it doesn't work like that. It's, which is a little frustrating. I'm helpless, but I guess I always have been. Yeah. Okay.
So you haven't had the insight yet that you know nothing.
I've had, from words are imperfect. From this, I've had the conceptual recognition of like, oh, okay, my mind is secondary. Like it's not in control of anything. It's not doing anything. But that's still a conceptual knowing. Like my mind knows that about itself. I haven't seen that in the same experiential way that this first just seeing this, like seeing direct experience for what it is apart from thought. But that's what's let my mind conceptually see that farther down the road potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're not far from that one. And that and that one just delivers immense freedom, immense can't even begin to express the relaxation that comes with happily entertaining any number of questions, but not requiring an answer at all. Don't require an answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any advice? So I'd heard about this fear barrier many times, and I like logically believe it's true, but and I don't think I've hit it, but I think I maybe grazed it gently. It was sort of a 1-2. It was sort of like when this was clearest, just a couple days. It was actually at same retreat someone mentioned. And initially I maybe so like, oh wait, I'm starting to see that this all just happens on its own. Like I was watching my hands feed me, like eat. It was very surreal. It was like literally like I was like there was a immersive virtual reality game that was being played, that was playing itself for no one. And that seemed like, oh, this would be amazing freedom. And then there was this thought of like, wait a second, I'm not in control. What if something terrible happens? And it was just instant, just like kind of got shot back. And I logically, I've heard all these sort of like, it's freedom, it's good, it's bad, or is it all good? So this is going to sound strange, but do you know anyone who has like deeply regretted going through, or like now there's sort of this lingering trepidation, fear, concern about if this keeps going all the way of like total loss of control? You're muted. Vince, you're muted. Can you hear me? Oh.
As I say, I don't know anybody who's gone all the way and regretted it. But I have come across a couple of people who've got themselves caught in you might describe it as an existential hole, or a nihilism trap. That's another way to describe it. And always, when I've come across them, it's because of incomplete. It's simply incomplete seeing. They're only halfway there, kind of thing,
Okay.
I cannot imagine that anybody would regret waking up. So, and even using the concept complete is wrong, but I'd say I mean, it can be pretty big, earth-shattering kind of process that happens. We're changing our view of ourselves and of other people and of the world. Yeah, it's big stuff.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how it could be anything but a joyous experience. Yeah. So if there's any hint of something you might regret, then that's something to work on. That's what that is. Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. I think that that gives my mind some good reassurance and instruction. Thanks.
Like you're going to say something, Glenda. No.
Grateful to have had the opportunity to be here. Normally, I can't be here in person because the time schedule and I have commitments, but I had an opportunity today and I've been listening to your recording, so I'll continue to listen. And I just signed up for Liberation Unleashed, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Your internet went funny and I missed what you signed up for, but I got the rest.
Oh, the Liberation Unleashed.
Oh, okay, yeah, good. So looking for a guide, yep. Yeah, might have to be patient there. They're all
Yeah, they sent me an email. Yeah, I'll be patient.
yeah, all right. And I started another one of these groups on my Saturday night, which should whereabouts?
I'm in Canada on the Pacific Coast, so I think your Saturday night is like 2 a.m. for me.
Okay, yeah. So if we go Monday 5, no, let's go back. Pacific Coast. San Francisco, isn't it? Yeah, it's just 2 a.m. that one for you. Oh, that's a bugger. Yeah. See, I've been thinking of changing that timing a little bit to try and suit more people. But gee whiz, I'd have to come back. It'll be yeah. All right. Anyway, I'll keep that in mind. I'll try and find a better time. But yeah. Okay.
But I will try to be to this one whenever I can. Yeah, but I'm going to listen to all your videos. They're so helpful.
Oh, great. Yeah. And you'll get good stuff from Liberation Unleashed as well. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to end today. We're just coming up for 3 hours for this, and I was here an hour before that. So I've been at it 4 hours now.
Yeah. Just before we go, it looks like it's cold where you are, Seb.
Yeah, I'm in garage in my car. It's freezing. It's winter Poland, so not fun.
Thank you for being there.
Yeah, I was shadowing. But I found almost everything today very relevant to where I'm at the moment, or where I was actually.
Yeah.
It was actually quite weird to listen to all that. I didn't want to jump in with anything, because, well, I'm in kind of a process at the moment.
Right.
So I knew it, and I felt it, that I left something behind. You can call it bypass, but it wasn't a bypass because I was aware of it. So it is not like an unconscious bypassing, but I recently I just felt that it is time to come back to some issues that I have to revisit, and I did that. I am doing that actually. Well, so I'm kind of letting myself into the story. Trying not to get entangled in it completely and not to sink into it. But it has to be well, visited. I can't leave it, so I have to work through this thing that I have. But the interesting thing is that so many things that were pointed to so many people here today felt relevant to my story. It is quite interesting because it seems like what we feel as humans is very alike, and whatever the exact story is, our reactions and our interpretations seem to, well, seem to work the same or similar way, whatever the circumstances, like the external circumstances are. Our interpretations tend to be similar, or at least we can find similar points in these. So I think it was helpful to me, even though I didn't speak and I didn't say anything.
Beautiful. It's one of the things that we notice more and more, the synchronicities of life. You were saying how relevant it was for you today. And the synchronicities of life, even in the most mundane things, are absolutely astounding when we just open our eyes to them. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, everything is the same, basically. It's all the same patterns repeating themselves. You can call that reincarnation as well, because this is all the same stuff repeating itself and just waiting for you to notice that it is happening again and again and again. It's amazing.
Anna, don't be polite. Jump in if you've got a question or something to say. Just jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like you have been talking today a lot about overhand, a lot about feeling what is happening, like how that feels in the body. Like what I have noticed, what happens with me, I normally try not to suppress whatever comes, like want to express itself. So if I feel, like normally it's expresses as crying, and I do cry a lot. Even when you are working with one of men today, like when Alan was talking like about feeling, I just put camera off because the cry just came up. So
Me too.
Is that normal?
Yeah.
Or I just need to feel what is inside?
Yeah, that says something good about the group and about acceptance and about trust, and all of that stuff is good. Yeah. Look, I cry all the time.
Good.
And
Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
No, not at all. When you say, is it normal? It's not normal in conventional life because we suppress it. But as part of the opening up here, it is so normal. It is so normal. And we're feeling things that we've never felt before. and
Yeah.
they really go deep, and it's a beautiful thing just to let them unfold. So
Okay.
tears are so welcome.
And you know, like sometimes that cry just comes up so like very strongly, like you can feel like contracting like a whole tummy, you know, like
Exactly.
exercising.
That's right. And to feel what's holding it back and acknowledge that too is so important. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, to not see it as a response to what's going on outside. So when Alan's working with somebody and your tears come up, it's appropriate for you to see that it's about you. It's not about Alan and what's going on over there. It's always about you.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's just something, you know, like has been touched in him, but at the same time, when you're listening to that, it's just something being
Absolutely.
touched
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that resonance. And then it just all comes up.
Yep. And you'll get you trust your intuition to say whether that is a how can I put it? Let's say a healthy expression of sadness, or whether it's something toxic, whether it's an unhealthy obsession with grief, for example. You know, if you've got stories about things that repeat and repeat and repeat themselves, then you've got something to work on. But if it's just a healthy expression of sadness, then there's nothing to work on there. And your intuition will tell you which one it is, if there's juice for working or not. Yeah.
Sometimes it comes up, you know, you just suddenly, just out of nowhere, you sit there and just feel like loneliness or sadness, you know, like something, and just comes up, cry, and like momentary, like minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe another repeat, and that's it, that's gone. Just, you know, very short living. But sometimes there is that victimhood mindset, you know, that pure me story attached to it.
Yep. Then there's something to work on. Yeah.
Because them victimhood stories, you know, like it's just so easy to notice. It's very, very easy to notice them. Ah, pure me, and the drama, and pure me.
Yeah. It's close to the surface.
Very much. I just like everything feels like this, like into your face. Like you can't miss it. It's so obvious. Yeah, all them things. And a lot. It's just a lot. It's just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. I just like, whew.
Once you notice a mechanism like that, it is hard to miss it again.
Yeah.
And it's the victim identity, but these may be, well, very different things. But until it gets noticed and well, felt and understood, that's not a good word, but known, until it is known and seen, the person that is under the spell, oh my God, you just can't get to them. You can't point to someone and say that he's got a victim story going on, because most likely you will just get killed.
Yeah, the defense mechanism instantly is there, and denial. No, and the full blame gets projected instantly. Yeah, it's just the way it works. It's, you know, like you like from my point of view, what I have noticed, you have just to be like radically honest with yourself. And once you become to that point, you actually can't, you know, like skip away from yourself. And anytime you notice this here, you notice it. And it's just like, okay, this is what it is. Yes, it is what it is. It's just like mind just playing all the time, like within itself, all this.
Yep. Yeah, that absolute honesty with yourself is so valuable to be able to do that. And I hadn't thought about it like this before, but you could, for those who haven't got it, I wonder if you could make a pact with yourself to say, I pledge to be honest with myself. Yeah. And then the next step from honesty is authenticity. Yeah, it's well, I look like I look. I don't care what other people think about it. It's just this, and here it is, and I'm just going to let it out. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, like you really see also some patterns when you try, you know, like people pleasing patterns, you know, like you try to impress someone or you try to get validation from someone, and you're like, I'm so good, look at me. All this, you see all that. You really can't hide from yourself completely.
Yeah,
Just like impossible, impossible.
good stuff. Yeah.
You can try, but it doesn't work.
Mhm.
No, Vince is trying to escape, but I want to just very quickly, because something that Anna said reminded me of something that I forgot happened. It was the day after this first insight thing. It's actually what you described, kind of seemingly out of nowhere. There was just sadness and crying, which is not typical for me. Pretty intense, lasted maybe 30 or 60 seconds, and then just gone, completely fine. But what was especially weird is I don't know what it was about. Like there were zero thoughts. It was actually just like pure physical sensation. Like the body was just doing something, and I didn't even realize that emotion was separable, or that response was separable from the thoughts, until that happened. And I'm still not sure what to make of that. But
Yep.
you reminded me when you said that.
Mm.
I think it's not even separate. It's well, at least I noticed in my story that it's first is this, for example, a sadness, and then your mind attaches items to it, thoughts to it, stories, builds around it. So there is anger, and then there is a person coming up who you are angry at, but the anger was first, and that realization was. I'm not claiming that it's truth, ultimate truth, but it works like that every time in my world, let's say, and when it works every time. I mean, when you the anger, the emotions are kind of I don't want to say pointless, but they are what is it? Aimless. The aim, the goal, I don't know how to say it. Missing a word in English.
Expressed. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that whatever the emotions come first, like a reaction that is completely unconscious, or that it's not a reaction at all. It may not be a reaction at all. It may be just like a bubble reaching a surface without any reason whatsoever, or with 1 million reasons at the same time. And then there is your wife that you're angry at for something stupid. And you wonder, why am I so angry? That's because you were angry first. And then there was just a reason for it that your mind came up with ad hoc, let's say. Yeah, that changes the way of perceiving reality, so-called reality. It's completely different, and you can work. Usually, for example, psychotherapy works on the triggers. They call it triggers, right? So, or on the reaction to the trigger. But I think it may be quite the opposite. I mean, like we are talking about gun that shoots a bullet, that may be a bullet that kicks back the gun. Completely the opposite of our understanding. But I'm just throwing that in here because that is my experience, my story. Yours might be different.
Well, I think it's a good one. I think it's a good one. I think we look to justify what we're feeling all the time.
Yeah.
I've noticed about anger. that's also is coming from powerlessness. That's helplessness. It's just, you know, like, because you feel like you can't do anything about whatever is happening, and then it's anger comes up, it just like motivates, like pushes you forward to do something. It's like kind of you feel powerless, and it gives you power to do something about that. That's what I have noticed about
because
anger.
that's a
And especially, you know, like that is very strong, like hatred. It's just like I literally can see just destroy, destroy, destroy. It's just like a killer coming out. It's such a strong, very powerful feeling. It's just like whole body just goes like, oh.
Yeah, that's the fight reaction, right?
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
danger, and then you're slipping into fight, whatever you are fighting, or even if that's not,
You know,
if that's you
sometimes
yourself.
completely in your head, you know, like you can be, as you say, triggered on something like absolutely unrelated. There was just like one example. I was watching one of the talks on YouTube, and that one lady, I just can feel something is like raising, and next thing you know, like I hate her, I just hate her, and that's all hater came out. And then I was like thinking back, like what just happened? Like she's completely a stranger, you know. She reminded me teachers at school when I felt like extremely powerless and couldn't do anything, and I was just like, oh. So yeah, it's just very strange way it's working.
Yeah, a very interesting thing is to go even deeper than the emotion. So there is a sensation in the body that is interpreted as an emotion. So you've got, for example, like vibration in your chest and feeling of hot, and then your mind sticks a label on it. It's fear. And then the mind looks for a reason for this, right? So where does it come from? Oh, that must be you who caused that. And here we go. And we've got a pretty story.
This projection, deflection of blame just, you know, fires up on someone. That's like instantly, because I don't want to feel it here. That's all your fault.
Yeah.
That's the usual.
It's easier way. Brush it.
It's called logic.
I would actually, you know, it's more like survival mechanism. See, because there is no actual logic behind it.
Yeah, kind of. You've got the what is it called? Like a domino effect, right? So that you can trace it back. But the thing is that so it is kind of logically set up when you look at it. But the truth is that it is kind of the opposite, or could be, at least, because it appears to us as something that is interpretable.
Yeah.
And it may not be completely.
Yeah,
This
like you
is
never
just
know.
It's just our interpretation.
Yeah, it can be something what mind is saying that what it is, but same time you never know. Maybe that is just a story what mind is telling. Yeah.
And logic can be a survival mechanism. Or at least
Reasoning.
it appears that way, yes. So it keeps us away from what we're feeling. Yeah. All right, I'm going to end, and we'll see you all.
Thank you very much, Vince.
Hopefully. You're welcome. See you again. Come back.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vince.